Most women have no idea that the way they hug a man is literally telling him how she feels about him, not what she says, not how she looks, the hug, that one moment. And here's the wild part. The women who are amazing at this are not doing anything complicated. They're just not making the mistakes that almost every other woman is making without even realizing it. And those mistakes, they're quietly killing any chance of something real before the guy even has time to think about it. I want you to really sit with that for a second, because we've all been given the same advice growing up. Be yourself, smile, be confident, and all of that is good advice. But nobody, not your mum, not your best friend, not any article you've ever read, ever sat you down and actually said, okay, here's what happens inside a man when a woman hugs him. Here's what he actually feels in his body. Here's what makes him want to get closer versus quietly pull back. Nobody taught us that part. So if you've been getting this wrong, it is not your fault. How would you even know? In this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 hugs that women do all the time that slowly push men away without them ever meaning to. And I'm talking about good women, smart women, women who actually like the guy. But these 3 things are doing real damage every single time, completely under the radar. And then I'm going to show you the 4th one, the one that almost nobody talks about, the one that actually sticks with him long after the night is over. The one that makes him think about you the next morning when he's just sitting quietly doing nothing. Stay with me until the end, because that last part is the one that changes everything. Hey, I'm Matthew Hussey. I've spent the last 15 years working with women all over the world, helping them really understand men, how we think, what we actually feel, what we respond to underneath everything we say out loud. And I can tell you honestly, the small physical moments, the ones that feel like nothing, those are the ones men remember the most. So let's get into it. But before we do, I need you to understand one thing, because it's the foundation of everything else I'm about to say. Men feel before they think. Most women assume men are up there deciding whether they like someone based on the conversation or how funny she was or how much they have in common. And yes, all of that matters eventually. But in the first few seconds of physical contact, his body is already answering questions his brain hasn't even asked yet. Is she relaxed around me? Does she feel good to be around? Does she actually want to be close to me? Or is she just being polite? His body figures all of that out in the first 2 or 3 seconds of a hug, way before his mind has a chance to catch up. That's not me being dramatic. That's just how we work as human beings. We are wired to pick up on physical signals way faster than we process words. So a hug is not just a hug, it's a message. It tells him something real about how you feel, about how present you are, about whether you're actually in that moment with him or just going through the motions. And the difference between a hug that naturally pulls him closer and a hug that slowly pushes him away is actually a lot smaller than you'd think. But it matters more than almost anything else you could do in that moment. Think about the last time someone hugged you and you could just feel that they were genuinely happy to see you. You didn't have to analyze it. You didn't think about it. You just felt it immediately. And now think about the opposite. The polite hug, the quick one, the one where you could tell the other person was already mentally somewhere else. You felt that too, right away, without anyone saying a word. That's exactly what's happening when you hug a man. He's not critiquing you or judging you. His body is just reading yours. And it gets the message before his brain even shows up to the conversation. So what you do with your body in those 3 seconds matters enormously, not because men are keeping score, but because that's just the language that physical contact speaks. And most of us were never taught how to speak it. If this is already making sense to you, do me a quick favor and hit the like button right now. It helps this video reach more people, and honestly, this is something more women need to hear. All right, let's talk about the mistakes. The first one is what I call the pat hug. You know this one. You've done it. Almost everyone has done it at some point. You go in for the hug and your arms come around him and then pat, pat, pat. You're tapping his back like you're trying to burp a baby. And I know that sounds a little funny, but really think about what that's telling him. That pat on the back is what you do when you're comforting someone who just got some bad news. It's what you do with a cousin you see once a year and you're not really sure how close you are anymore. It's polite, it's harmless, but it has zero real warmth in it, zero closeness. And his body picks that up instantly. She's keeping me at a safe distance. She doesn't really want to be here. And the worst part is you probably didn't mean any of that at all. You were nervous. You didn't quite know what to do with your hands. Maybe it just happened automatically, but he doesn't know that. All he knows is what his body just felt. And what it felt was somebody keeping him at arm's length. I've had so many guys tell me something like, I don't know, man, it just kind of felt like she wasn't really into it. And when I push them to explain what they mean, they say things like she just felt stiff, or it felt like she was already thinking about stepping away before the hug even started. That's the pat hug. It feels totally normal to you in the moment, maybe even a little safe, but it reads as cold and distant to him. The second mistake is what I call the rushed hug. This is the one where the whole thing lasts maybe half a second. You make contact for barely a moment, and then you're already stepping back before he's even registered that it happened. And I completely understand why women do this. Sometimes you're in a crowded place. Sometimes you're nervous and you don't want to linger too long. Sometimes you just don't want to come across as trying too hard. But here's what he walks away with from a hug that short. She wasn't that interested. That's simple. His brain doesn't go through all the possible reasons you might have pulled back quickly. It just takes in what happened and draws a conclusion. Fast exit, low interest. That's the equation running in the background without him even choosing to run it. And this one is genuinely tricky because a lot of women do this specifically because they like the guy. They're nervous. They don't want to seem too eager. So they pull back fast to seem cool and relaxed. But here's the problem. Unbothered and uninterested feel exactly the same from the outside. You can't tell the difference just from watching. So you think you're being smart and playing it calm, and he's walking away thinking, yeah, she seems nice, but I'm not sure she's feeling it. And you had absolutely no idea that just happened. The third mistake is the one I think does the most quiet damage over time. I call it the checked out hug. This is when your body is there, but your head is somewhere completely else. Maybe you're thinking about what you're going to say next. Maybe you're a little self-conscious about who else is in the room. Maybe you're just stuck in your own head, a bit anxious, running little worried thoughts about how you're coming across. And the hug happens. It technically happens, but you're not really in it. You're present physically, but not actually there. Here's what I really need you to understand about this one. Men feel that. Not in some strange, mysterious way, just in the most basic human way that all of us are capable of. When someone is genuinely present with you, when their whole attention is just on you, even for just 3 or 4 seconds, it feels completely different from when someone is going through the motions. We've all had both experiences. We know the difference in our body, even when we can't quite put it into words. Women come to me all the time and say things like, I was just so in my head that night I couldn't relax at all. And then they're surprised when things felt a little off afterward. But what was happening is that he felt that too. He felt that you weren't really with him. And it doesn't make him think, oh, she more say'd have been nervous or she had a lot going on. It makes him feel like he just wasn't that important to you right now. And that stings, even if it's completely wrong, even if you were actually thinking about him the whole night. If the hug felt empty, that's what he files away, and it shapes how he feels about you going forward, whether he's aware of it or not. Those 3 things, the pat, the rushed exit, and the checked out hug, are happening everywhere, every day, between people who actually like each other and have real potential together. And they're quietly doing damage that nobody ever traces back to where it actually started. Now let's get to the thing that actually works, the hug that stays with him. And I want to say this clearly because it's important. This is not about performing something. This is not a technique you paste on top of how you normally are. This is just about being genuinely present for a few seconds and letting your body say what you actually feel. That's the whole thing. When you break it down, it really is that simple. Here's what it actually looks like. When you go in for the hug, go in like you made a real decision to do it. Not over the top, not like you're making a big dramatic moment out of it, just deliberate, like you actually chose to hug this person and you're following through on that with your whole body. Your arms wrap around him with real pressure, not a squeeze that's uncomfortable, but enough that he actually feels you there, enough that it lands, because there's a difference between touching someone and actually reaching them. And the difference is just a little more intention behind it. Now, here's the thing that most people skip completely. And honestly, this one thing makes more difference than everything else combined. Breathe. Just take one real slow breath while you're in the hug. Because when you breathe, you actually relax. And when you relax, his body picks that up and he relaxes too. It sounds small, but it's not. If you're tense and holding your breath and quietly counting the seconds until it's over, he feels every bit of that. But if you take one genuine breath and you're actually just there for a moment, his whole body responds to it. It's contagious. That one breath is the difference between a hug that feels like two people being polite to each other and a hug that feels like two people who actually like each other. That's how powerful one breath is. And then the ending. Don't rush it. This part matters so much more than people realize. The way a lot of women end a hug is they start pulling back before the hug is actually done. Like they're already half gone before they've fully left. What you want to do instead is just stay a tiny beat longer than you normally would. Not so long that it becomes awkward. Just long enough that he becomes aware the hug is ending rather than you already being 3 steps ahead of it. That one tiny shift puts you in a seat. Completely different position. You stop being the person who was already leaving and you become the person who was fully there until the last second, and that lands very differently. When you do pull back, let it be slow. Let your hands come off his back or his arms gently. Don't pull yourself away like you're done and you've got somewhere more important to be. That ending is the last thing he registers from that whole moment. It's what he walks away with. So make it slow and easy and natural. And then when you step back, just look at him for a second. A real look. Not a staged smile, not a performance, just you actually looking at him like you're glad that just happened. Because if you genuinely like this person, that look costs you absolutely nothing. And it lands on him like almost nothing else could in that moment. It tells him everything without a single word. I've had men describe moments like this to me in vivid detail. Hugs from years ago, moments that lasted maybe 4 seconds. And what they always say when they try to explain it is something like, I don't know how to describe it. She just made me feel like I was the only person in the room. And when I break down with them what actually happened, it's almost always exactly what I just described. She was there. She wasn't rushing. She let it be real for a few seconds. Then she looked at him when it was done. That's the whole thing. Every time. Because here's the truth about attraction that doesn't make it onto any motivational poster. Attraction is not built in big, obvious moments. It's not built in grand gestures. It's built in tiny moments of real connection that just keep stacking up quietly over time. And a hug, a real one, a present one, is one of the most powerful ways that happens because it doesn't need words. It doesn't need planning. It doesn't need any game at all. It's just two people being real with each other for 3 seconds. And in a world where everyone is distracted and half checked out all the time, that is genuinely rare. And rare things are what people remember. Now, I want to talk about something a little deeper here because I think this is the real reason so many women get this wrong. And it has nothing to do with knowing the right moves. Most women who do the rushed hug or the pat or the checked out hug, they're not doing it because they don't like the guy. They're doing it because they're scared. Scared of coming on too strong. Scared of seeming like they want it too much. Scared that if they let themselves be genuinely warm and present, they'll look desperate or too easy to read or somehow less attractive. And I completely understand where that fear comes from. Women have been told for years by movies, by advice columns, by well-meaning friends that playing it cool is the smart move. Don't show your hand. Don't let him see that you care. Make him work for it. So they hug a man they genuinely like and they hold back. They pull away early. They pat his back twice so it doesn't feel like too much. and then they wonder why he doesn't seem more interested. Here's what I want you to really hear. There is nothing more attractive than a woman who is comfortable enough to just be warm, who can be close to someone without making it strange, who can be fully present without pending the whole time, managing how she looks. That kind of ease, that groundedness, that I'm okay being right here quality, is exactly what men are talking about when they describe a woman as magnetic. They don't usually say she had this perfect hug technique. They say, I don't know what it was, she just made everything feel easy and natural. That's presence. That's what we're really talking about here. Not a technique you learn, just presence. And I want to be honest with you about something. I've worked with a lot of women over the years who were incredibly beautiful, really smart, great conversationalists, the kind of woman you'd think would have no trouble at all with men. And some of them were still struggling because in every physical moment, they were somewhere else in their head. They were doing the rushed hug and the distracted look and the polite smile. And men kept describing them as nice but hard to read, hard to connect with. And it had nothing to do with how they looked or what they said. It was just that in the moments that actually counted, they weren't really there. The women I've seen turn that around completely weren't the ones who learned a bunch of new moves. They were the ones who just got out of their own way, who stopped treating every interaction like a performance review, who let themselves be warm without immediately pulling back out of fear. And the difference in how men responded to them was night and day, not because men suddenly liked them more as people, but because they could finally feel them, and you can't really like someone you can't feel. And the beautiful thing is that when you actually get out of your head, when you stop watching yourself from the outside and just let yourself be in the moment, your body naturally does the right thing. Because you already know what real warmth feels like. You felt it from other people. You know exactly what it's like to be in a hug that feels real and one that feels empty. You already have everything inside you to give someone the real version. You just have to stop talking yourself out of it. All right, so here's the one thing I want you to walk away with from this video. One real thing you can actually use tonight or the next time you see this person. Before you go in for the hug, just quietly decide that you're going to be all the way there for it. Not performing anything, not managing anything, just there. Arms that actually hold him, one breath that lets you settle, an ending that's slow instead of rushed, and one real look when it's over. That's it. 4 things, and every single one of them comes from the exact same place, just deciding to actually show up for the moment instead of watching it happen from a safe distance. That's what he'll remember, not what you were wearing, not exactly what you said. That 3 or 4 seconds where you were just completely and genuinely there with him. And here's what happens over time when you keep doing that. It builds something. Every little moment of real presence stacks on top of the last one. And after a while, he doesn't just think you're nice or pretty or interesting. He thinks about you when you're not there. He looks forward to seeing you in a way that's harder to explain but much harder to ignore, because you became the person who made him feel like he mattered, like being around you was easy and real and good, and that is a feeling no amount of clever conversation or perfect timing can create on its own. This is what nobody tells women. They focus so much on what to say and how to say it and what to text and when to text it, and all of that has a place. But the moments that actually move a man, the moments that shift something in him, are almost always the quiet physical ones. The ones that happen before anyone has time to think. A look that held just a second longer than expected. A hand that stayed just a moment more. A hug where he could feel that she was actually in it. Those are the moments he talks about with his